Now, badgers are wild mammals that are easily recognisable by the conspicuous black and white stripes running from the nose to the shoulders. Infected badgers are also said to be responsible for spreading tuberculosis to cattle. And last year, 28,000 diseased cattle had to be slaughtered here in Britain, which is why Owen Paterson, the British Environment Secretary, has given permission for farmers to employ trained marksmen to start shooting badgers from today in 2 areas of England. But this cull is passionately opposed by animal rights activists who argue that vaccination is the only way to tackle TB in any species. The campaign against badger culling has attracted some high-profile figures, among them the Queen guitarist Brian May, who's even composed a badger song.
Badger boys will have a say, the government will be made to pay, 'cause come the next election day, we'll vote for Brian May.
So we brought Brian May together with Brian Hill, a cattle farmer in Devon, southwest England. Brian Hill first. Why does he support the cull?
I think that the government has had to go this way, and I think they're not comfortable with it, or the farming organisations, but I think they're feeling at their wits' end, and nothing that we say or do that tries to convince people that have got a different view, they don't seem to want to listen, and they want to kill more and more of our cattle. And when the truth of the matter is, since I've been involved in 16 years, TB is totally out of control. And this year alone, with the floods that we've had, and everybody could see it on the televisions, I ask anybody who understands TB and how it spread to think of all those badgers 12 foot underground with all those floods and all the Somerset levels and all over the country, and they've carrying a disease of TB. The main ingredients for TB to pass on is overcrowding, damp, humid conditions with a poor diet.
Dr. May, you're certainly not comfortable with the idea of shooting badgers as a way of controlling the transmission of TB from them to cattle.
This is a story which I completely sympathise with, Mr. Hill, and I've heard it before. No one would dispute that farmers are having a terrible time with this. This is our starting point. We all need to find the solution to bovine TB in cattle. What I would dispute was number one, you're kind of assuming that badgers are the source of TB, and that's not true. I mean, bovine TB is called bovine TB because it's a disease endemic to cattle. It was brought into the UK by cattle farming, and it has infected the wildlife, not only badgers, other creatures as well, certainly deer and some domestic animals too. So you cannot really accuse the badger of being the source and the only way that TB is spread. It's still believed by most scientists that I've talked to in the field that the primary cause of the spread of the disease is cow to cow. It's due to the cows being stressed, it's due to cows being moved around, and many, many other things. And badgers are a part of it, yes. But the crucial thing is not what happened in the past, but what is happening now. And what is happening now is that the disease, yes, is out of control. So we need a fix. Unfortunately, you might think that a cull of badgers would do the trick, but it's been shown time and time again that it doesn't work.
Brian Hill, as I understand it from what you've said so far, you are opposed to the randomised killing of badgers, but you would support the killing of infected badgers.
Absolutely, it has to happen. It has to happen because it's not doing the badgers any good or any other wildlife.
Are you saying that you're doing
Brian May,
silly.
Brian May, would you
Okay.
agree with that?
It's
Infected badgers need to be killed.
I agree with part of it because, of course, none of us would say that if an animal is sick and incurable, you shouldn't euthanize it. Yes, of course. If you could do that, if you could find the badgers that were really sick and humanely euthanize them like you would do with your cat or your dog, of course none of us would be opposed to that. This is nothing to do with what the government is proposing. We are talking about a cull where shooters go in and try to shoot 70% of the population of badgers. They don't even know how many badgers there are, so they're probably going to exterminate them in certain areas, almost certainly. They have no idea of numbers, as we've seen.
So do I detect from you then, Brian, if it was possible to detect the most likely and the ones that are suffering in a terrible death, that you would actually support a targeted cull, or not a cull, we shouldn't use the word cull, The use of cull is an emotive word. We should remove the infected and most suffering badgers. Are you saying that you would go along with that?
Actually, I wouldn't, because I think it's an irrelevance. What we need to be doing is vaccinating our badgers. And it's not the most important thing on the agenda anyway. The most important thing is to get your cows vaccinated. I've been to Europe. A lot of these people haven't even bothered. I've been there and they say, we will help you vaccinate your cows. We can push this through. In 10 years' time, you could have the whole national herd vaccinated. And you don't even need to talk about badgers, and the disease will die out naturally in badgers. Badgers have quite a good...
I'm sorry, I've been there 16 years and it's certainly not dying out naturally. And it's a barbaric...
No, not at the moment, of course not, because they're being reinfected by cows the whole time.
I'm sorry,
Brian Hill.
This is ridiculous.
Sorry, Brian Hill.
I would like to know what would happen to the badgers if you vaccinated the cattle, and those are the recipients of the TB from the badgers, then what are you going to do with the rest of the wildlife that you've got this reservoir of infection in the wildlife, this rampant, it's going to spread to other species. It's mad.
No, the wonderful thing is you don't have to worry about it, because once the source in cows is eliminated, the rest of it will take care of itself. I am trying to find you a solution which works.
Brian May and Brian Hill.